Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the BettingPros NFL podcast. I'm your host, Dan Harris. With me, of course, is Matt Peralt. Find us on Twitter at DanHarris80 and at Sports Talk Matt. Matt, week 16, we dodged a bullet last week. It was a
15.
rough week for everyone.
Week 15.
Week 15, we dodged a bullet last week.
Yes.
Oh, this is week, what do you mean?
This is week 16.
Yes, welcome to the week 16. We dodged a bullet last week. What did I say?
You just kind of ran things together
This
without
is like
the,
my
the
eighth
comma.
podcast of the day already, man. I don't want to hear this. Go ahead. What
You need
we
the
dodged
comma.
a bullet in week
We
15.
dodged a bullet, comma. It's week 16. But yes, we did dodge. I mean, it was one of those things where I got up in the morning and you were like, how do you feel about the picks? And I said, I hate them.
Yes.
And it was just a gut feeling that it was going to be a really bad weekend for a lot of people.
Yep.
And it was a bloodbath in a lot of ways. I mean, it was just horrific for so many teams and so many people. I mean, for me in the Westgate and for me in the Circa contest that I'm in the other, I got eviscerated. 0-4-1 in the Westgate. I got annihilated in the Westgate. It was just one of those weeks where everything kind of screwy happened. And it just, my goodness gracious, I am glad we did not take this week and we used our last lifeline well.
So it's interesting. We would have gone 2-3. I looked back at what we had. So it would have knocked us out of any sort of consideration. But that would have been the best that you would have done in any of your contests because we would have lost on the Pats, getting 2.5 from the Dolphins, the Vikings laying 3.5 to the Bears, stupid, and the Rams slightly didn't cover the laying 16.5 to the Jets. We would
How
have
do
hit
you feel about that, by the way? You being a Jet fan.
I think that it surprises me that every year they find a new way to make you hate being a Jets fan. And this was one of the worst. I mean, I'm literally like, none of that. And again, obviously I'm a fantasy guy, but in a very important fantasy matchup, I had the Rams defense, which is something where you're like, this is guaranteed. We're going to go. It was terrible. All right. It's terrible. That is what they do. And again, at the beginning of the season, when I realized that they were an historically terrible team, I was like, they'll still find a way to go 4-12 and get like the 6th pick and nobody will care because that's what they do. But then I really bought in. I really bought into the 0-16. How are they going to win a game, especially against the Rams? So, yeah, I feel terrible about it. But we'll talk about it, Matt. And you mentioned it on the Daily Juice about what we're going to see this weekend from the Jaguars. We'll talk about that.
It's the Doug Marrone revenge game.
That's what I'm saying, bud. Let's hope. Let's hope that we get there. We would have hit on the Browns laying 4.5 to the Giants. And the Cowboys, kudos to you, by the way, because I did not love that game whatsoever. The Cowboys laying 3.5 to the 49ers. So we would have gone 2-3, but to the extent we're still in contention, which we are, I'll get to in a second, we would have lost that one. So not a good week for anybody, though. And the thing about the contest, Matt, so we are 36-29. That's 55.4%. That's good. And I think we're in like 150th place out of 700 whatever people. So that's pretty good. Now, if we went 5-0 this week, it would be 58.6%. That is right on the border right now of cashing. I'm not 100% positive it would make it. It would really depend on how the people in front of us did, but that might actually cash, which is pretty huge in this tournament, which is a $1,500 buy-in. So people aren't going in being like, all right, whatever. Right. I'm just, they know what they're doing in this one. So we got a shot, but we pretty much have to go 5-0. Now the lines just came out for the tournament. I checked last night. They weren't out. I just sent them to you. So I'd kind of looked at the lines based on where the consensus was in the market without knowing these. So my feelings on some of them might change a little bit, but we'll have to see. So Matt, early just impressions. How do you feel about the lines, generally speaking?
Well, let me ask you this question as we head into this.
Yeah.
Do you believe in game theory, or are we picking games based upon who wins as if we were betting money?
This is a fantastic question, Matt. A fantastic question because I thought about this a lot. Are we trying to be contrarian in this to try to win money? For me, Matt, I really think that the bottom line is we need to go 5-0.
Yes.
So if there is something where it's like we've got two games that we feel equally pretty good about, one of them is probably one that's going to be a little bit contrarian, I will opt for that one. But I'm not looking to be like, well, let's go with this because they'll never see this one coming. Like we got to make our best picks. We got to go 5-0. So whichever way it comes out is fine. What about you? What do you think you would do?
I think being contrarian as much as possible is important.
Yes.
Here. And because it is our last week and because we have a shot at it, I do think we need to be a little bit on the game theory side versus the pick theory side, just because it could lead us. If we go 5-0 And I mean, we can hold serve, and there's nothing wrong with holding serve.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to hold serve right now. We're outside the money at 150.
Right.
So we're trying to get in. So let's be a little bit more on the aggressive side when it comes to fading, what we think may actually happen here, because I think it could lead us to, if we do go 5-0, we could find ourselves right in a good spot.
So the biggest thing that I will say, there are two things really. Number one, it's Wednesday. Okay, we usually record this on Thursday. We have a little bit more information. We have a little bit more time to digest. So this is an important week for us, of course. So Matt, as you always do, you talk to people who are in the know. You get convinced one way or another, so you follow up. So this week, more than any other week, it's going to be our proposed picks, but we definitely may change off them. But number two, of course, as much as people who listen to this podcast, and we love them all, I'm sure are very interested in how we are pursuing the DraftKings championship, of course. They also want betting advice, regardless for them. Yeah. So we will, of course, not just be like, well, this might be the play, but we're going contrarian to go here. We'll make it clear which way our leans are. So, all right, Matt, you've got the lines now. And again, you can look at wherever you had it. There are certain things where the DraftKings lines, there are some that are better than the consensus, some that are worse. So what do you think? You can start us off. What's your number one play this week?
Now, let me just say, we've just now had a chance to go through it. Mm-hmm. So, my order of favorite plays are probably going to change here.
Yep.
We've got games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a weird week.
Yep.
Do we know the rules on the DraftKings? If we play Friday, can we play Saturday and Sunday without having to give them all in?
Yes.
So the Friday rules and Saturday rules apply like it's a Thursday game.
Correct.
Okay, so I like that. So we actually can kind of go day by day.
So just so you know, Matt, here are the rules, okay? When you make a pick, you have to put in all 5 of your picks to enter any pick, but you can edit your picks up until Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Perfect.
So you make all your picks. You want a Saturday game, you put them in now. If you change your mind before the Saturday game, you just change it, before the kickoff. So we can do whatever we want.
I love that. That's great. In terms of right now, where I sit, okay, I personally think the LA Rams catching 1.5 points in the bounce back spots. I got them catching points in a game that they have to win against Seattle, and I don't think Seattle's all that good, in particular defensively. You could say that the Rams were looking ahead to this game because this is for the division. This is a divisional game. They had the lead by a game, so I guess they had a game in hand. They could technically lose it and still win the division if they beat Seattle. They have to win this game. I think the Rams win the game outright.
Yeah, I'll put it in pencil for now, but I'm almost sure that's going to be one of our picks because I have it as well. I have a little trepidation with it, Matt, just because
It's Jared Goff.
Well, it's Jared Goff. This is exactly correct, right? Didn't we kind of think we got to be past this type of effort that we saw from the Jets? But if you can go that route and lose that game, I don't care about how much of a letdown spot, how much you're looking past it, whatever. That was one of the worst played games I have ever seen in my life. The Jets didn't play well in that, whatever. That was the Rams, man. It was really remarkable to see that. So it's a little worrisome. At the same time, if we're thinking about this game, it's the best thing that could happen to the Rams because you know this, right? This is and I also, what do you think this is going to, do you think the public's going to come in on the Seahawks here? Or do you think they're going to see what happened last week and be a very public play for the Seahawks in this one?
I think there's a good chance of it. I think you'll see some public, sharper, smarter people maybe come back on the Rams.
Yep.
But I do think you're going to see this line climb at least approaching kickoff with public people coming in saying Seattle's the best team in the division. Here comes DK Metcalf.
Yep.
I watched Aaron Donald leave the field and how mad he was when he left the field. I was like, I am feeling bad for Russ next week because that guy's going to be on a mission.
And the thing is, they're not playing that well, the Seahawks, right now. They haven't played well in a long time. Russ is not, playing as well. He's getting his butt kicked a little bit. He's holding the ball a little bit too long. And DK Metcalf always has the chance to make giant plays, but Tyler Lockett hasn't been involved really at all. The Rams are going to be so pissed after this game. Now, Cam Akers is out. That does hurt because Akers is an upgrade over Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. I just don't think it's enough. So divisional game, it's 1.5 points, but I do like it. I think the Rams are going to win this game outright. I have sprinkled some on the money line already, so I do think that they're going to get it. So, I'm good with it. Let's put it there. All right, Matt, we're going to get ugly this week. And I mentioned it a little bit before, but I realized that the Bears are, in the hunt and playing well. and the Jaguars are terrible, and they may be down James Robinson right now. But I think that Gardner Minshew is going to be able to keep this game at roughly a touchdown or closer, and this just strikes me as a way to fade the Bears. And again, you mentioned it on the Juice, which I loved. It was maybe my favorite moment on the Daily Juice, where you aptly pointed out, Doug Marrone don't care. Okay?
No.
He's gone. He's not coaching this team next year. Is he like, man, we got to tank so we can get Trevor Lawrence? I mean, think about Adam Gase. Adam Gase isn't tanking. Adam Gase isn't here next year. They don't care. He's not going to tank. The team plays hard. They don't have the horses, but they play hard. Gardner Minshew, again, I mean, Baltimore was completely out of their league. I don't think the Bears necessarily are. I think, that the defense is good, but it's mainly the run defense. I think Minshew will be able to move the ball, passing it, and keep it close enough where it'll be within a touchdown at 7.5 at home. It's ugly, but I actually like the Jaguars here.
I think they might win the game outright.
Yes, I kind of think that too.
They could win the game. This is what I really, after listening to the clip of Doug Marrone when he was asked about tanking after the game, saying, the Jets, they've lost here. What is your philosophy? What do you do over the last 2 games? And he was angry when he answered it. It wasn't like we're going to get out there and do our best. And he was like, we're not tanking. What are you talking about? We're not losing. We're not doing that. And I went, oh my gosh, this guy knows he's fired. And Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville guarantees he's fired. There's no way they let that guy go anywhere near Trevor Lawrence. So why in the world would he want to lose? Why would he want to tank for a quarterback he'll never coach? Right. And he's angry. He's losing his job. It's human nature, right? You're fired. You're a dead man walking. What's the best way to just stick it to your employer? Win. Yep. I think they could win the game outright.
I'm not going to lie. I also have just a tiny bit, because it's like plus 300 or whatever for the Jags on the money line, because I do think that there's a chance they can win. But again, realistically, the Jaguars, they've covered several times where you've been like, what are you talking about? Like, they managed to keep a game close. And again, as many points as the Bears have put up lately, as much as, Dave Montgomery is really playing well and Mitchell Trubisky is passable at this moment, I just think that you're going to see Gardner Minshew be able to put up some points, enough to keep close with them. And again, talk about tanking, Matt. Like, I realistically think no team actually says we are like, if you're out on the football field, for the most part, I don't think teams go out there and are like, I'm just going to kind of ole this guy. You see teams maybe being like, I'm not going to put my health at risk by tackling this guy, or maybe not like that. But you play to win the game, and especially a coach who is coaching, like, no coach wants to be like, I'm tanking on purpose to do this. So they're going to play to win. So yeah, I like it over a touchdown. I wanted to see what the spread was in the DraftKings contest, because it was 7.5, generally speaking. I want to see in the contest, it's also 7.5. So if you're good with it, I'm good with it.
All right. So we got we go dog with the Rams, dog with the Jags. I got one more dog I want to talk about.
Okay.
And I think this is, you want to talk ugly. All right. This is ugly.
Oh, okay. It's not what I'm thinking. I've got a dog that I was hoping that you'd get to, but it's not going to be this one.
This is ugly because I'm going to ride a backup quarterback to do something here, and I'm going to take Vegas at plus 3.5 against the Dolphins. The Patriots should have won that game. All right, it was right there. Yeah. There were so many chances for them, and just Cam Newton can't do anything. Okay, he just can't throw. He can't run. I don't think that Dolphins defense is playing very well, and I know that Dolphins offense is not playing very well. I think the Raiders, they're healthy. They've got to win the game to stay in the playoff chase. This is it. They lose the game, they're done. Their entire season's on the line. I think jobs are on the line. I think coaches' jobs are on the line. We've already seen the DC get fired in Vegas. I think you could see more coaches getting fired because Gruden's going to get really angry, and he likes Mariota. He thinks Marcus Mariota is something. That's why he gave him a 2-year, $17 million contract to play quarterback for this spot. Mariota's playing for a job. He could wind up, look what Cam got a starting job. Why couldn't Marcus Mariota get a starting job next year? I think at plus 3.5, I'm getting more than a field goal. That hook matters to me. I don't think that Dolphins offense is that great. I know the defense for the Raiders gets no pressure. I understand that. But I think that this is a game where the offense can put points up. I'll take the 3.5 and the Raiders.
So, all right. So a couple.
I told you it was ugly.
It is ugly. Oh, it's ugly. I have a couple questions. First of all, I've been assuming, based on the injury, it sounded pretty bad, that Carr is up, but he's splitting reps here in practice with Mariota.
There's no way this dude's playing.
Right.
I mean, he could play,
not.
I guess, but like I am banking on a backup quarterback. He tore his groin.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not pretty. I mean, I guess as a quarterback, you don't have to run. You can kind of stand back there if you can move around a little bit.
Right.
But given how fluid Mariota was, and yes, he threw behind his receivers like crazy, but he did have that drop in the bucket throw to Waller, which was pretty nice for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
he played very well. He played very well in that game overall, like completely.
Yeah, coming off the bench cold, he definitely played well. Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting. When I originally did my notes on it, I didn't really think about this game because it was 3.5 makes it far more enticing when I'm looking at it. And again, what I like about this is that the split on the public in this, the public's going to be all over the Dolphins in this one, right? Because the Raiders, they looked, they look competent on national TV, but they got the backup quarterback. Everybody's starting to love the Dolphins at this point. I worry a little bit about what I get that the Raiders have to win. I just don't know whether or not the Raiders have the horses to win this game. I mean, Jacobs is banged up. It's really Waller. It's really Waller at this point. The Dolphins defense.
But Aguilar was open though. Mariota missed Aguilar.
He's always open, and they always
I had him on the prop bet. I need 9 more yards.
I know.
Actually, it turns to be 4. Actually, it turns to be 5 more yards for Aguilar. But he was open. He was open a lot, and Mariota just missed him.
Yeah.
So if he can get on the same page as him, it's not just Waller. I mean, I know you. I think Ruggs is going to be a really interesting case.
Is Ruggs back, by the way, from the COVID-19 list? Because he was on it. I don't know.
I'm not contact tracing, right? He didn't have COVID, right?
I don't think so, right? Has he been activated though yet?
I haven't seen it, but he hasn't been the weapon that we thought he was going to be in this offense.
No,
it's all Waller and it's all Jacobs, and the offensive line has gotten healthier and it has been playing better. They're still not without. I mean, they lost Incognito for the year and whatnot, but I just think this is the season. This is everything, and to lose by a field goal, yeah, I can see that. Lose by 3. But that hook matters to me about the 3.5 in the contest.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put it on the maybe list because I'm not in love with it. I worry a little bit about the Raiders. And again, I also...
Of course, it's the Raiders.
And the health of the Dolphins matters to me as well. Is Gaskin coming back, or any pass catcher coming back for Dolphins? Is Devontae Parker or Mike Gesicki or Jakeem Grant or anybody who's out there coming back? So I'll put it on the maybe list because I do like the hook. At 3, I had kind of discounted either side because I didn't like it on either side. 3.5, feel a little bit different. Now, the dog that I thought you might be going with, Matt, that I kind of like this week are the Falcons getting 10.5 from the Chiefs in KC. Now, the Chiefs are going to win this game without question, but the Falcons are not a terrible football team. I mean, even without Julio Jones, Raheem Morris is a good coach. He has them coached up. The defense is playing okay. They were way ahead in that Bucs game, but they falconed it as they always do. So the Chiefs, as we know, they're a great team, but they are not interested in winning by 25 points, right? Like, they're just not. They let teams sort of hang around. You're getting more than 10 in this game. It strikes me as this is, a 7-point win, maybe a 10-point win. I don't think I see it as like a 20-point win in this game or something like that. So getting double digits, more than 10 in this game, I kind of like the Falcons. It's in Arrowhead, so it's,
Is Julio playing?
What is that?
Is Julio playing?
I'm going to assume that Julio's not playing. He might. He's trying desperately to play. My guess is he's going to play week 17, not this game.
If he
but he didn't play this week.
Yeah, if he played, I would feel a little bit better, but Ridley had a monster game.
And Gage played well as well.
Yeah, Gage played very well. And look, Matt Ryan's playing well. There's a big, there's all that talk about Matt Ryan potentially going to San Francisco and going back with Kyle Shanahan. And that's been, so he wants to put up numbers and he wants to prove he can still be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So there's a lot to play for here. 0-5-1, depending on the number that you got. If you got 2.5 late, you covered that game with the Saints. But if you got it at 3, which was pretty much where it was forever,
right?
They're 0-5-1 over the last 6 games against the spread, and they've been backdoored for 4 consecutive weeks.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And So they go up and they just stop. And I've been telling people who, I got friends of mine who are Chief fans, and I'm like, you guys better stop doing that because at some point in the playoffs, you're going to get burned. If you're not playing fourth quarter games, you're not playing all four quarters, you're going to get yourself into a fourth quarter game, and it's going to be like the Titans game last year, but in reverse, where you're going to be up big and then you're going to lose because you're just not going to be able to hold on to a lead. So I don't hate it. 10.5 is a big number.
It's a big number.
And I think it will come down by the time kickoff happens. I think you'll see professionals come in and take the points. I'm okay with going heavy on dogs this weekend.
Right.
I really am. In week 16 and 17, I'm comfortable. Even road, double-digit road dogs, I'm comfortable. If I'm getting points, I feel good. So I'd be comfortable at 10.5.
Yeah, so the thing, to the extent I want to make the case against it, which worries me a little bit, is that the Chiefs have a very strong pass defense. Their run defense is a little susceptible, and the Falcons can't run the ball. They just can't. They're just passing, and that's where the strength is. But again, this is just what it is. 10.5, man. They don't cover the line. They just don't. Yeah. They're not interested in it. They don't care. And again, you're telling me, 30-20, you're fine with the Falcons. You're good there. So I kind of like it. I'd like it a lot more if the Falcons were home, of course.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll put it on the maybe list. What else you got?
So I've got favorites here.
Yep.
And so those are my three. So really, we have 5 picks, 5 dogs right now.
So if we what's our fifth one? What did I miss?
So Raiders, Jags, Rams. Oh, and so we have 4 now. Okay, 4.
Right.
Sorry.
4. Yeah, and the Falcons. Yeah.
So.
But by the way, my only remaining picks where I have actual leans for them are all favorites as well. Just so you know.
Okay. So I want to go back to the well against your Jets.
Yes.
And I feel like
go ahead.
So I just think 9.5 below 10 for Cleveland. This is where actually Cleveland gets to get all their fans into a lather for the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll blow the Jets out by 30. And the Jets will just, they played their Super Bowl, if you will. They won their one game. And to turn around and fade them the next week against a team that's going to run the ball down their throats and just win the game 20-3 and walk away.
Yep.
I can lay the 9.5 with Cleveland.
Yep. This was definitely on my list. And what's funny, Matt, is I was like, I think this one's going to be a winner with Matt, so I'm not going to waste it yet. I'm going to hold it for now, just in case it gets to the point where like, oh man, I'm going to be like, boom. One, if you want a worry about it, because I realistically, I had in my notes, it was 9.5 in the consensus lines. I had in my notes, if it gets to 10, I really hope it doesn't get to 10 in the contest. If it stays at 9.5, which it did, I felt good about it. Because again, kudos to the Browns, who are absolutely legitimate. They are playing great. Baker is playing great. Rashard Higgins is playing great. The run game is good. The defense is solid. They're getting healthier there. The Jets, absolutely. They played a good game against a good team. But again, for me, that game was more about the Rams. You want something to basically be like, oh man, maybe they don't completely destroy the Jets, is the fact that they could be looking ahead, right, to week 17 against the Steelers, which right now...
But they can't, because they have to win the game to keep pace.
It's true, but it could be something where they, you go in and you say, well, we're going to win this game. We know that. Focus on Pittsburgh, we'll beat the Jets.
Oh my gosh,
so
the Browns start doing that. That's danger. I'm with you.
I agree.
It's the Browns.
That's what happens. I'm sure the Rams probably did that a little bit, right? The Rams probably looked ahead to the Seahawks a little bit and came out against the Jets. We're going to destroy the Jets. Who cares? Doesn't matter though, Matt. I'm completely with you. The Jets, no, they've won the game. They're not going to win another one. And Cleveland is too good anyway. Cleveland is just a much, much better team. And I have faith if you're getting it under 10. Yeah, it was one of my favorite picks on the week. I just didn't lead with it because I figured that it would be a safe pick that I could have later on. So absolutely, that one's in. Forget it. Okay. We don't even need to debate it. So
okay.
All right.
But that's the game theory, by the way.
You think that the Jets are going to be the side in the contest?
Everyone's going to be on the Browns.
Oh, everyone is going to be on the Browns.
Yes. Okay. I think one of the most popular picks is going to be the Browns over the Jets.
All right.
So that's just, if I'm with you on the play, but if we're playing game theory, the idea is either do we want to run with the masses or do we want to be contrarian? I'm not saying we take the Jets. I'm just saying we look for games that people aren't going to play because everyone's going to be on the Browns. It's just going to be there.
It's very interesting though, Matt. There are a couple of things. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, game theory works both ways, right? other people can also be having the game theory discussion that you
True.
and I are having, right?
True.
And they could be like, let's get smart and stuff like that. And so it could definitely be. But I do think that all year long, Matt, people who have models and people who sort of look at to find the value in the lines have consistently said, I feel like there's value in the Jets lines, but I can't take the Jets. I can't take the Jets because even though my model says that the spread should be 3 points closer, I can't take the Jets on this. But maybe now you feel a little more comfortable taking the Jets because they showed up. The other thing, by the way, is Quinn Williams, like their best pass rusher, he's out. He's just been placed on IR as of 20 minutes ago. So he's out for this game. They can't win, man. Like,
no, I'm with you. Here, the one thing that I'm curious about, because of the way the DraftKings does it, so we're talking about percentage, not wins.
Correct. Now, it's going to be the same thing, though, because everybody's going to have the same number of picks at this point. Right now, the percentage matters a little more because not everybody has picked the same number of games. So,
I see what
right?
you're saying. Okay.
So some people have already picked all their games, and they have to take the bye week in this
for 16 and 17, so they're done. Okay.
Exactly. So that's why it's percentage at this point as opposed to wins. So in the end, it's going to be wins. And my guess is, so we are, I believe I said we were 36 and 29 or whatever it was. And so at best, we would get 41 out of 60, which would be 58.6%. And right now, that I believe is cashing. So I don't know whether or not that's where it's going to be, or that might be one game short or something, 41 out of 60. But that's going to be right on the borderline of what we need to be doing. So it's
cool.
It's a percent, but it's really picks at that point.
Okay. So it's still game theory. I mean, I think.
Although you could be, by the way, if there's a push on a game, obviously, right? So although every line is a half point, like there's no pushing this week.
Yeah, I'm guessing Johnny Avello and company made sure of that. So
I think so, right?
So you wouldn't have to. You're either going to go 5-0 or 0-5. There's no, there's no 3-1-1 going on here.
Right.
You know, it's trying to make sure you're either winning or losing in week 16. I mean, I think. You know, the more that I think about it, the more that I realize, like, if we have to go 5-0, we kind of just have to pick 5 games we feel the best about.
That's where I'm at, Matt. Like,
yeah, I'm with you on that now.
If there's a tiebreaker, right? If we're like, we like these 4 games, we've got these 2 other games that we feel kind of equally strong about, and one is kind of more of the game theory contrarian play, I'm fine to do that. But for the most part, I'm not like, you and I like the Browns at 9.5.
Right.
I don't really want to get off it because I think it's going to be like a play. Like, we got to go 5-0 one way by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
So however
so we need it.
Be.
So yeah. All right. I like it.
All right. So that was yours. So let me get to mine. I've got how many more? I really only have 1 or 2 more, I guess, baby. This one's what worries me about this one though, Matt, is it's an incredibly public play. Like, the public is probably going to be all over this because they have seen the Steelers look like hot garbage for 3 weeks now. They just got absolutely embarrassed on national TV. It's a spot where ordinarily I would buy the Steelers and I would say, this is Tomlin's spot, right? I mean, this is the rah-rah. Nobody believes in us, whatever. I just don't think they got the horses at this point. And I think Indianapolis, maybe not a dominant team, you know, maybe not quite as strong as I thought, but their defense, when healthy, is absolutely legitimate. The Steelers have no running game whatsoever. Everybody knows that Ben is, whether he's actually hurt or whatever, can't push the ball downfield. So they are just crowding the line saying, you want to get a 7-yard completion? We are not, like, I'm not backing off as a corner. I'm not backing off anymore. I'm not worried about being beat deep because I know you got to get the ball out in 1.5 seconds. Indianapolis is a legit team. They need to keep winning here. They've got a shot at the division, especially with the Titans playing the Packers. So lay under a field goal. I think they win the game. I'd be willing to go with Indianapolis 2.5. It's just such a public play, which is why I have trepidation about it. What do you think?
It has a big black line through it.
Oh, no way. Because it's so public or what?
Just you can't touch the game.
Okay.
You just can't. There's a bunch of reasons why. One, I think James Conner's playing. Okay. So I think we're going to have a running game resurgence here.
Okay, I want to make it clear. I think their running game is worse with James Conner than with Benny Snell. That's where I am legitimately on James Conner at this point. Not that it matters, but go ahead. That's how James Conner is irrelevant to me, but go ahead.
Okay, so I think Conner coming back is big.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have you mentioned the Tomlin spot. I mean, this is it. If they win this game, they win the division, and week 17 doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have a playoff home game. I think you're going to get every trick. I think you're going to get everything possible, and you're going. I'm banking on Phillip Rivers in a Week 16 spot in a Super Bowl spot. I can't do it. I think you're right. I think the right side's the Colts, but I don't think we can risk it. Knowing how much we need 5 picks, we can't risk being wrong and the Steelers getting right in winning a football game and winning it outright.
Yeah.
And then we're laying 2.5 points here. If you were to take the Steelers, I would go, all right, maybe. No. But I'd feel nervous about it. But I think there's a legitimate chance that they save their season in this spot. I think Ben's arm, I think his elbow is screwed up.
Yeah.
And I think there's no velocity. 2 weeks ago against Buffalo was the first time I started asking people in Vegas, like, what is up with the arm?
Yep.
And everybody said there's nothing there. There's just no punch. However, even with that said, I think they know they're not going anywhere. They're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not a good football team. I can't see them going 11-0 and 0-5. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
They got to beat somebody, and this is the game they got to have.
Yeah, I think all of that is right. And again, I like everything when you look at sort of like trends or what's the narrative, everything, it's Steelers, right? This is the spot for the Steelers. But again, this is something where I now cannot back the Steelers, like under any circumstance right now. But I'm fine. Again, it's a game that I'm uncomfortable with.
I think you're on the right side. No, I get it. I think the Colts. I think Colts are the right side. I think it's the right bet. It's the right pick. It's just in this spot for us.
That's fine.
If we're wrong, it's like, oh man, did we just lose money because we went against Tomlin in a spot that we knew?
And backed Phillip Rivers, and it's just I completely agree. It's this one that I'm like, this feels like the right side, but I still feel uncomfortable with it. Yeah. But again, you're right at this point because of the Steelers. Could you imagine going in having to beat the Browns next week in Cleveland?
Yep.
For that division like that? No, terrible. They can't want to do that at this point on a 4-game losing streak. So yeah, I know it just, man, that team with all the defensive injuries with Ben, God, there's no way I'm taking the Steelers. I would say that if you came and said Steelers, I would say absolutely not, but I'm fine.
No, I think this is no play. This is my biggest no play game of the week. I just don't think you can touch it.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, there's just one more play that I think it's a big number, so I understand if you don't want to touch it, but I think the Giants' offense is done, and I think the Ravens are getting into form here, and I think they're going to destroy New York. I think the line's big, it's 10.5, but I think it's going to be a complete and total destroy. I think the Ravens are going to kill the Giants.
I don't care. I don't hate it. Okay. So keep going. I'm sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
No, I just think Baltimore 10.5. I think there's quarterback questions. I don't care if it's McCoy or it's Jones. It doesn't matter. I think the defense has been figured out. And I think the Ravens are starting to kind of do what good teams do in December. And, okay, we had our hiccup. We had our kind of our COVID problems and our issues. And we played in weird times and weird days. And everything got thrown off. But I think Lamar Jackson's starting to come into shape here. And I think these next 2 weeks are going to be the chance for the Ravens to kind of say, we're still in the conversation here for potentially going to the Super Bowl. You guys have slept on us long enough, but here's what we just did to the Giants.
Yeah, I really don't hate this at all. It was on my list, but it was sort of like, it's just a weird number. Like it's a big number as we were talking about. But I don't really hate it because I do think that the Ravens have kind of been like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what were we doing coming into this year? Like, felt like we got too fancy almost a little bit, right? Like, we didn't just want to do exactly what we know we can do. Now they're playing well. They need to keep winning. They need to basically win out. They've had the soft schedule here with Jacksonville and then the Giants, and then they've got Cincinnati. So, and again, what I love about Harbaugh is if he's going to win a game, he doesn't care about, like, he'll he's like the anti-Chiefs this year, right? He will put his foot on the neck and just say, you're done, and I'm putting up as many points as possible. So yeah, I don't hate it. Let's put it on the maybe list, but it's at the head of the maybe list for me, for sure. Okay, very good. How about, so this is interesting, Matt, and it's your team, so I want to ask you about it. At 7, I was like, maybe the Bills, because I think the Bills at this point, Matt, are we done fading the Bills at this point? They look amazing. Like, they look really, really incredible, especially offensively.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
Gilmore. It's 7.5. When it's 7.5, I don't love that. But
yeah, the thing that bothers me is that Belichick tends to take these games really personally now, and he doesn't. He plays long term. Like some coaches are like, I need to win right now.
Yeah.
I need to win right now. He doesn't care about that. But the fact that he held his press conference this morning and wouldn't declare a starter,
yeah.
and is maybe going to run out Stidham, and maybe it is Stidham playing and Cam not playing. I think they're a better team with Jarrett Stidham at the quarterback spot.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm concerned that Belichick wants to go 8-8, and he wants to have a 500 record in the middle of COVID, and then let history play it out. Versus 7-9, and Brady winds up going 10-6 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It scares me. The hook matters. I couldn't back the Patriots, but I think the Bills are going to win the game, but I could easily see my favorite quarterback, Josh Allen, have a rough day.
Yeah, I realistically think that the Bills are going to destroy the Pats, and
they want to. They're going in there. Yep.
I'm not going to. Here's the thing. I mean, I'll put it on the maybe list, Matt, but unless you talk to your people and they're like, this line should be 12 or whatever, I'm not going to put it in because I'm not going to have us back the Bills against the Patriots in our contest. Because I know you're fade the Bills, Well,
it's not. It's over 7, and it's a spot where the Patriots don't need to worry. They can do whatever they want. I mean, they can throw every trick defense, every trick play. I mean, they can. There's nothing on the line for the Patriots. It's just go out there and beat the Bills because you don't want to lose 2 games to Buffalo, and you've already lost the division to them.
Yeah.
So there's anger in that building already when it comes to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So if you win and you go 1-1, at least you beat them. At least the team that won the division, you beat them.
Yeah. All of this stuff, like I get all of that. I just think in the end it doesn't matter because he doesn't have the horses. Same thing as Pittsburgh right now. The same thing as like he has never lost the rookie quarterbacks against Belichick, and maybe they should have covered, or maybe they could have won that game, but they didn't. And I think that especially without Gilmore, man. So you're going to have double digs, I guess. I don't think it's necessarily going to matter. And if it does, then you're going to have Cole Beasley have the big game. And if not, then Josh Allen is going to run all over
Remember, though, J.C. Jackson's mad, okay? He had 8 picks and didn't make the Pro Bowl.
All right.
He's mad.
The narrative stuff, though, for me with this team doesn't matter because the narrative stuff has kind of been blown out of the water. Like, Belichick is, if not the greatest coach of all time, then with the top 2 or whatever like that. But if he doesn't have the horses, he doesn't have the horses. And you lost your best defensive player. And it's not like maybe Jarrett Stidham is an upgrade over Cam Newton. He probably is. What does that matter? At this point, who cares? That's not saying much. You might be an upgrade over Cam Newton at this point.
I mean, Damian Harris may be back. I mean,
it's fine. I don't mind. I mean, I sprinkled on it at 7, which is where it is, because I really think that this is a game that Bills are going to win by double digits at this point. But I'm not pushing for it in the contest because I do know you've been kind of generally speaking fading the Bills all year. And number 2, it's your team, so I trust, your insight into the team more than my own. So I'm fine to put that on the maybe, but it's much more of if you talk to your guys. And again, that's what I love about doing this with you, is that you will come in and have a side when we do this, and then you'll talk to other people. You'll get as much information as possible, and sometimes you'll switch. So if you switch, I'd be willing to put it in. But for now, let's put it to the side. Any other team that you're looking at this week that you like or have a lean on? If not, we'll just go through the rest of the game, see if there's something.
I mean, the only other game that I've been kind of kicking around in my head, and I've kind of been like, do I really want to go ahead and back them? And I'm not entirely comfortable even, coming out and saying it, is that I think the Titans might beat the Packers. And I think because the Titans, you mentioned the race, right? The Titans need this game. Yeah. They've got to keep pace. They've got to keep their lead. I mean, do the Packers really need this game? I mean,
they need the bye, right? I mean,
okay, if they want the bye, okay, and I don't know how much teams really want. I mean, yes, the bye would be nice.
What do you mean, man? You need that bye.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know. I just as I said, I'm kind of like going back and forth, but it did jump when I was going through. It did kind of jump off the table, off the screen, going, man, it's an interesting number. I'm getting 3.5 on the Titans against the Packers. They play cold weather football. That's what they do.
Right.
I mean, they ultimately in the NFL, they are the cold weather team in a lot of ways, where they can just line up and run the ball at you. And the Packers have such a horrific run defense. Look what happened against the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, all Dalvin Cook all day. So do they make the mistake of playing 6 DBs again? Probably not. But you do have good receivers that they could be worried about in the same way they were worried about stopping Thielen for the Vikings, stopping A.J. Brown's. Corey Davis had a monster game last week, as you had it in your projections.
Yep.
When one of your props was Corey Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that hook at 3.5 looks interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the Titans are probably the right side because I don't see this as a game that the Packers, it's going to be cold. It's going to be really cold. I don't see this as a monstrous, explosive offensive day necessarily for the Packers. And the Packers are as vulnerable against the run as, pretty much any other team. And in a cold sort of scenario, you can give Derrick Henry the ball 35 times and you're going to be able to put up points and keep the game close and everything like that. I don't hate it. I don't love it because I don't have a great feel for this game. And I think I'm still scarred a little bit by the game that you had so perfectly nailed, which was that Browns game where the Browns destroyed the Titans, absolutely destroyed them. Makes me a little nervous here as to what are we going to see when the Titans face a real team with a real offense like the Packers. But I'll put it on the maybe list. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. And I do think that's the right side with the hook. So I'll do that. All right. Let's go through the rest of the games here.
Okay.
I mean, I have a couple of minor thoughts. Let's start with let me just make sure I haven't missed any. Nope, I've gone through all those. How about the Bucks laying 9.5 to the Lions in Detroit?
What do you make of that team in Tampa? What do you make of these guys? I just don't like their offense.
Yeah.
I teased them down last week, so I got it right, but they were down big to the Falcons.
Yep.
I mean, they had to come all the way back on the road. Their second half was totally different than their first half. And I thought that they would go into the bye, change things up, have a new offense, come out of the bye week and be, a dink and dunk team like Brady wants to be. Now, they did make Scotty Miller a bigger part of the offense, so that's important. So I'm glad to see that. But they've got him running fly patterns. He's not running slants.
Right.
He's running go routes.
Right.
So, I don't know what to make of this Bucs team. I need them to win it because I've got them to win 10 games.
Yeah.
So I have a bet on them to win 10 games. So I need them to win this game here today. But, man, yikes. It's tough to get behind them.
Yeah. I think, probably, not to make any excuses for them because that was a pretty dismal effort. But I think, Ronald Jones to me, especially in the passing game, is just an upgrade over Leonard Fournette. So I think probably the running back out of the backfield made a difference. I don't think Ronald Jones is supposed to play in this game. No. I think there's out. So you've got that. It's just, first of all, I don't know for sure that Stafford is playing in this game. I mean, Stafford is basically good. Kudos to the guy who's as tough as they come playing through it. But, Galladay's still going to be out, of course, if it's Chase Daniel. Everything to me says, if I have to pick a side, I'm going with the Bucs under double digits. I will take that because, again, you can do whatever you want against Detroit, from an offensive standpoint. I mean, you've got the 3 receivers. You've still got Gronk. You can run the ball. They should be able to do whatever they want. So I do think that the Bucs are probably the right side. But, you watch them, and the way they came out against Atlanta, that was just an abysmal game. So I think the Bucs
you know what's funny? I don't know how much fun Brady's having.
Yeah.
Watching him on the sidelines, this is when Brady normally gets to be Brady, right? In December is when he starts to really you start to feel it. You watch him and you're like, man, you watch the confidence and you watch how he carries himself. You watch the swag come out of Brady. It never really happens until December in the postseason.
Right.
And I don't see it out of him.
Yeah.
I see a lot of frustration. I see a lot of concern. I see a lot of just trepidation and almost, being annoyed at what's happening. And I think he knows they're not that good of a football team.
Yeah, they're not that good of a football team. Now, I'm not even saying that they don't have a chance to get to the Super Bowl because they could get on a run. They have horses. They have a strong defense. They're just not playing very well at the moment. And I think it is frustrating. And Brady is not playing very well at the moment either. So it's frustrating for them. But I think they're the right side at 9.5, but I'm not pushing to put it in the contest by any means. Okay. Eagles laying 2.5 to the Cowboys in Dallas.
If I was going to bet it, it's the Eagles because I was on Jalen Hurts last week at +6 and it was a brutal loss.
Oh, I know.
Just a brutal.
I was there too.
That was just horrid. But I think Jalen Hurts is something. I really do. And I just the only reason why I'm not backing it is because I don't think the Eagles as a football team are that good.
I think they're going to be such a public play. I think, right? Because Hurts is like the type of play that you're like, oh my gosh, I got to back this guy under a field goal. The Cowboys are not as bad as I think people make them out to be. Their defense is playing a little bit better. So I do like the Eagles as well, but I think that the public nature of it and the team, just generally speaking, pushes me off it a little bit. So it's a game that I do think that if I had to bet, it would be the Eagles, but not there. So this is interesting. What do you think? This is the Christmas game, I believe. The Saints laying 7.5 to the Vikings in New Orleans.
Hate the hook.
Yeah,
I looked at it. Hate the 7.5. If it was 6.5, I'd be all over New Orleans. But
yes,
7.5.
Yeah,
that's my concern. Backdoor.
If I had to go somewhere, I'd go with the Vikings at 7.5. Okay. I don't want it. The Vikings have now entered the put the black line through them phase of betting for me. I am not backing the Vikings after what happened last week. That was my play of the week. Yep.
I was all in that. I thought I had that game perfectly correct, and they made Trubisky look good again. And I just don't understand. Dalvin Cook didn't run as hard as I thought he was going to, and that team, when they get down, they don't know how to come from behind. Yeah. Like you go up 7-0, you go up 10-0, it's almost over. Like it's just they just don't come back on anybody.
Yep. Yeah. I think having a black line through them is the perfect way to put them because I think there's probably value on them at 7.5. There's no way I'm backing them, but I don't know what I'm going to see from them week to week at all. So I agree. Let's stay away. Wonderful. Cardinals laying your favorite number 5.5 to the 49ers in Arizona.
If I had to back it, I would take San Francisco.
Yeah.
But I don't like it because I don't like backing Nick Mullins. And
it's not Nick Mullins.
Oh, Nick Mullins, it's even worse, right?
CJ Beathard now.
Yeah,
Mullins
it's even
is
worse.
Done. Yeah, right. Mullins needs Tommy John surgery, I think, actually.
Yeah, it's even worse. Yeah, that's right. CJ Beathard.
Yep.
Because he came out of that game and his elbow was funky and he was like flexing his elbow.
Now it's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
Kittle may return. That's a possibility. They're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I just think running the football against the Cardinals is how you beat them.
Yeah.
And I think Mostert should play, right?
No, he's out.
Oh, okay.
He's on IR now, my friend. He's done. You've got Jeff Wilson and, I guess Jerick McKinnon, maybe Tevin Coleman, who's also banged up. So you've got Jeff Wilson and you've got maybe George Kittle and you've got Brandon Ayuk, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe you just talked me into the Cardinals if I had to bet it.
Well, it can't be. It's 5.5. It's Peralta's.
No, I wouldn't touch it. I'm not touching this game.
Yeah,
absolutely not. I don't like. I mean, the Cardinals are a team that, in terms of coaching, I think Cliff Kingsbury hasn't adapted nearly enough as he should have. I think he's had his system in place, and they run the same thing every week.
Yep.
And some weeks it works, and some weeks it doesn't. And it's if I was a Cardinal fan, I'd be concerned about that. That he seems like he's a one-trick pony, and if Murray's not doing magic with his feet, they can't win.
Yeah.
Like they need him to run the football and pick up first downs. And then Hopkins last week was incredible. He was just
amazing,
absolutely incredible against the Eagles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a guy like that making incredible catches and plays and touchdown catches that shouldn't be made. And okay, fine, that's how you win games. But it's too many unknowns for me.
I don't like it. I just don't. I really don't. I don't have faith in the Cardinals yet. And the 49ers, as beat up as they are, their defense is, still, as healthy essentially as it's been, and they'll put up a fight. And I don't want to touch it. I'm with you. So how about the gross? I mean, you can't want this game either side. Texans laying 8.5 to the Bengals in Houston.
There's no way. I won't watch it. It's not what we're talking about.
No,
it's horrible.
Stay completely away from it. If you're betting that game, stop listening. I'm just kidding. You can still listen to the podcast. But I don't want any part of it, no matter what. Chargers laying 3.5 to the Broncos in Los Angeles.
Look. This is one of those games where if we were going to play game theory, okay, no one's going to pick this game.
Yeah, this
game will be on like 5% of the picks. No one's going to go near it. You take the Chargers at home against the Broncos, and you hope that they play hard, and you hope that Herbert goes back to where he was because he wants to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, so he wants to put up big numbers.
Right.
If we played game theory, it would be Chargers in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't want to play it though. Okay. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Get out of my feed. I don't want this game. Yeah, it's gross. It is gross. I just don't want to touch it. It's not I don't feel comfortable backing the Chargers. I don't feel comfortable backing the Broncos. I don't feel comfortable at all. Washington laying 2.5 to the Panthers in Washington.
So this is the revenge game, right? And if you believe in revenge games, you would take Washington here. It's hard to do so just given where their offense is right now. And I mean,
we don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback.
Correct. The Dwayne Haskins going to a strip club story is pretty significant.
Yeah.
And I mean, Gibson's not going to play.
I doubt it.
So, I mean, I don't know how you back Washington, but I would back Washington if I was going to back anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like Washington would be, this one, by the way, is a legitimately, so, the bet analyzer, I look and you can see, generally speaking, the percentage of people who put in picks, where they are on a side. Not a single person has put in a pick yet for this game. And I guess that's probably because of the quarterback situation.
Right.
But it's just not a game that I'd want to go near, because either way, I just don't. It's just, Washington has a legitimate defense. If I knew Alex Smith was starting, maybe I'd feel comfortable with them. But for now, let's stay away.
Because this game's on Sunday, right?
Yes, this game's on Sunday.
So, I mean, like, this could be one of those games by the time we get to Sunday morning, that the number has shifted so much that there's like an incredible value on Washington, because this thing popped up. We had to put these lines out on Wednesday before we knew. So if Haskins
that
out,
might be a game theory one though, Matt. Like that's where I could see game theory going. Like the Steelers this weekend, right? That line came out, I think, before you knew that Ryan Finley was going to be the starter. Right. And the line, I think, ballooned after that for Ryan Finley to be the starter.
Correct.
And there was a ton. That's what I told you when we were talking, and I looked at how many people had picked Pittsburgh. And I said, root for Cincinnati to cover the 12.5 point spread. Because I think when it closed, it might have been at like 15 or something like that, right?
Yep.
So that's where you would say, here's a line that's locked in the contest that then shifts. I think that is where game theory could play. Where you'd be like, everybody's then going to be in on Washington. Let's just avoid it and hope for that upset if we have other games we like. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right. So here's what we've got, Matt. We both like the Rams plus 1.5 from the Seahawks. So that is in. The Jaguars plus 7.5 from the Browns. From the Bears, I'm sorry. And the Browns minus 9.5 to the Jets. So those are the three that were definitely, and we got a bunch of other possibles. I like the Ravens minus 10.5 to the Giants.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
Yep.
All right. So we've got that one. And then we've got 4 others that are under consideration. And that is the Raiders getting 3.5 from the Dolphins, the Falcons getting 10.5 from the Chiefs, the Bills laying 7.5 to the Patriots, but that one's not really there, and the Titans getting 3.5 from the Packers. I think if I would choose, and I mentioned it, it would be the Falcons getting the 10.5. And I like sort of the mix of heavy favorites and heavy dogs in this one. Like there's a lot of more than a touchdown, but I'd leave it to you to what you want.
All right. So what is the current line for Falcons Chiefs? I don't have it in front of me. Do you?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I think it's 11. It is. Wait, where is it? Where is it right now? Sorry. Hold on, everybody. This is grade A. It's 10.5 still. That's where it is.
It's 10.5 still. All right.
Yeah, so it hasn't moved one way or another.
So this number opened in Vegas. Opening number was 12.5. So the money's coming in. It's now 10.5. So the money came in on the Falcons. So
there's no way the Falcons are going to be a public play, though, right?
No, but what I mean by looking at that is that first line movement is professional.
Yeah.
So the money comes in, first line move, professional. Mm-hmm. Then there's closing line value, which is professionals at the end as to where the number actually closes. So opening line value and closing line value. So opening line value would say the right side is the Falcons, but we're getting a worse number than the opening line value.
Yep.
So there's money coming in on Atlanta, and over 10.5, it feels like Atlanta's the side. My only question would be, why has this number stopped? So it's a Wednesday, so maybe the number comes in and we see over 10.5, the number comes in. But in terms of the 4 games that we've listed, getting over 10.5, getting over 10, going to 10.5 is the most attractive, let's say that, of a number.
All right, so look, here's the deal. It's Wednesday, as we've said. We've got a lot more work to do to sort of get as much information as possible. And again, you've got, especially with COVID, where you've got random players suddenly sitting out and stuff like that, these definitely could change. But let's pencil them in then. Let's pencil it in here. We got 3 numbers that are bordering around 10. We've got 1 over 7 4 of our 5 picks have lines over 7.5, so I like that. All right, so here's what our pencil in. Rams getting 1.5 from the Seahawks. Jaguars getting 7.5 from the Bears. Browns laying 9.5 to the Jets. Ravens laying 10.5 to the Giants. And the Falcons getting 10.5 from the Chiefs. I kind of like those, Matt. And I also think that we have a few other games that I'd be willing to go with. Like, I could see going with the Titans if we really went to. I could see you talking me into the Raiders. I didn't think so at the time, but I could see about it. And if maybe people will talk you into the Bills laying 7.5, but I don't know. I feel all right with this. This is okay.
I like your theory of big dogs and big favorites. Again, if we were going to, I would rather have 3-2 dogs to favorites, which we do.
Yep.
So I like the fact that we're going more with underdogs here in Week 16.
Mm-hmm.
It's just generally speaking, the public has watched enough. The public starts laying favorites even heavier in 17 and 18.
Yeah.
In Week 16, 17 rather.
Yep.
So I'm going. I like these picks right now.
Yeah, me too. All right, very good. All right, so that's it. So just to be clear, this is the last week of the DraftKings contest. It only runs through Week 16. Matt, your other 2 contests continue, right, through Week 17?
Correct.
Now, regardless of the contest, we're still going to be here. We'll just be talking the game and not putting them into contests, or maybe we'll come up with some fun game that we can have a little competition or something to do our best bets or something like that. But we will be here every week for this. We'll do the postseason. We'll have all the good thing going. Maybe we'll get creative with some teasers and some 2-team teasers, which is the Peralt 2-team teasers, my favorite teasers.
11-6 on the year.
Yeah, you got a good one for this weekend? You got it up? You'll give it on the juice?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do my theory is when there's more than one game on a day, I do it.
Okay.
So like I've got Christmas, I've got Saturday, I've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
I'll have teasers in all 3 days on the juice.
Well, Friday there's only one game though, right?
I thought there was more than one on Friday. Only
no,
one?
I think Friday is just the Saints and the Vikings, and then three on Saturday, and then the rest on Sunday.
So the NFL isn't going to go head-to-head with the NBA, huh? That's smart, I guess, on Christmas
whatever,
Day.
man.
Yeah,
Whatever. They
guess that's
dominate.
smart.
They
so
do
then
everything.
Saturday, Sunday will be, there'll be one each. One Saturday,
well,
one Sunday.
nothing will beat your 2-team Bills down to basically a pick and the Packers down to 2 or whatever it was. The other.
Yeah, I was talking to a bookmaker friend of mine.
Yeah.
He was like, how much money did you put on that? I was like, why? He's like, whatever you did, you should have put 4 times what you put on it.
Yeah.
He's like,
that
was
one.
the
I've been looking already for this week. The lines are sharp. I mean, at this point in the season, the lines are really good. So I haven't found one that I really like, but that one I remember when you recommended it, I was like, oh yeah.
Everybody, literally everyone I knew had that teaser. That was like the autoplay teaser.
Well, we'll get creative here as we go in. But again, thanks for listening. Check out the Daily Juice if you want more of Matt's picks. He's, everybody, I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you listen to Daily Juice because you're a smart gambler. Anyway, we'll be back as always next week, probably on Thursday again, doing it normally. But until then, good luck with all your wagers this weekend.